for the third time. Thought Slime is a bad person. There are many bad people on the political left, and Thought Slime is one of them. So, Mildred has graced us with a video today called Abolish the Left. This is a suggestion from a viewer, Naomi Chance, in chat. Lovely, lovely viewer. If you want to suggest me a video to react to, which I'm likely to react to because not many people suggest them, you can join the Discord down below. Also, I will be streaming Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. Since I'm now in college, I can have a set schedule. And I'm also going to be announcing whenever I stream down there. So, join. There's no reason not to if you are a fellow bedhead like everyone else in chat. And you can follow me on Twitter down there below. But anyways, let's get into this video.
Folks, there's a problem with the left, and I'm not simply saying that because I am the subject of criticism on the left. No. We can't win any confrontation with the far right unless this changes, because the left has alienated the average person, which in this case is me, with a focus on niche, boutique issues, and it needs to focus on outreach specifically towards the white working class, a term I've adopted in this context because it sounds less racist than just saying white people, but actually it is just racism mixed with a little bit of classism, actually.
Okay. I'm pulling up a note right quick, and we will call it and this will help me keep a tally, I guess you could say a tab. So, we will be keeping this up. So it seems like what Mildred is trying to establish here is there is a segment of the left who actually state that the left is bad when they are attacked for bad belief spreading. Apparently, this segment of the left only really cares about getting out the white working class a dog whistle. And then I'll put that in quotation. Ladies and gentlemen, take typing classes and you can be like me. So, let's continue this video.
There's enough plausible deniability to gaslight anyone that points that out. See, we can't let partisanship divide us.
Whoa.
Gaslight anyone that points that out. See, we can't
Observe everyone mad already in the comments claiming I said some imaginary shit like white people can't be working class. You just create a smoke screen of shit to poison any wells you... Dumb fuck shit Mildred has said. There is a segment of the left. Let me general video notes. Not everything said is dumb. So, everything so far is not that bad. There are a segment of the left who do claim that the left is bad whenever they get called out. And there is a segment of the left who do consistently try to shy off shit by saying, oh, we need to reach out to the white working class when all they mean is just white people. They're just being racist, trying to appeal to racists. So that is true so far.
Divide us. Hey, you ever notice that a lot of people say that kind of stuff and they say it right and then they follow it up with some of the wackest horseshit you've ever heard in your entire life? Just some real garbage brain shit from an idea dumpster. Ideas so fundamentally without value that you throw them out, you can't even recycle them. You just throw them right in the dumpster. And here's the thing about the left. Can we talk for a minute about the left, please? Why is nobody talking about the left? There's something I simply must say about the left. my thought on the subject is fuck the left.
Boom!
I don't care about the left. I don't owe it my loyalty. Neither do you. The left isn't anything. It's not a group of people. It's not a tendency. It's not an ideology. The left is not even like a coherent set of goals or policies.
This is true so far. The left
does not exist, aside from as a rhetorical device used to mean like anybody who considers themselves on the left, or anybody who considers themselves on the left would consider to be like their pals, their buddies. There is no consistent set of beliefs that unites people on the left. No economic theory, no social policy, no guiding principle. You'll hear the term used to describe everything from hardcore anarchist revolutionaries to neoliberal ghouls who at least don't actively seem to want to feed gay people into a wood chipper right now.
Pulling out the notes. Claims Obama and Trudeau are neoliberal ghouls who do not actively want to feed gays to a wood chipper. Technically true, but also false. You see, the reason why this is also false is because it's almost like Mildred is kind of suggesting that in the event of like a fascist takeover, Obama and Trudeau would be some of the first to be willing to like, not necessarily some of the first, but would be willing to feed gay people to a wood chipper when that's not necessarily true. Were politicians like Obama definitely waiting on the wayside for gay people to gain their fucking rights and saying, oh yeah, no, I wouldn't support gay marriage? Yeah, because he's a piece of shit. But I don't think that'll go so far as him going like, yeah, let's wood chipper the fucking queers, okay? So, let's continue. That was a dumb fucked point.
And like everything in between that, too. And perceptive viewers might notice, from the examples that I just gave, any such coalition is doomed. Those groups can work together over common goals, but
common
also
goals prevent the aforementioned wood chippering of the LGBTQ community. What? Then why did you say actively? Remove the word actively. Mutually exclusive goals and the violent exploitation of the working class. Okay, true. In particular, those in the global south versus Lil Nah. In the working class versus Lil Nah. Okay. Ending imperialist forever wars versus, I don't know, maybe let's do them a little harder. Do anything at all to solve problems in the world versus vote more. Anti-electoralism. Sorry, I didn't have that on screen. Anti-electoralism, down here. Stupid. Stupid, dumb fuck take. That is a stupid, dummy take. Okay. Geez, private healthcare sure seems like a pretty murderous idea, huh? Yeah. Might be cool if there are some social welfare programs. Yes. Okay. Let's continue.
They have mutually exclusive goals that at some point they're going to need to resolve. And that's good. There's, like, to be clear, that's a good part about that. That's a good job. That's part of coalition building. You set aside your disagreements, temporarily if need be, to achieve something desirable to all parties. But at some point, you got to go, hey, there's also stuff we disagree about. What are you going to do? And then have a big argument. There are degrees of disagreement, though. There are some disagreements which, although we might not ever be able to resolve, we should by no means tolerate. Disagreements whose effects are too fundamental, too immediate, and too costly to ignore in the service of cooperation. Like, for example, if you wanted to kill Batman, you could not ally yourself with Robin because he's not going to support you, you know? Even if you agree with Robin on a lot of stuff, you're going to come into conflict about the whole Batman issue. Now, where you draw that line is going to vary. I'm not going to give you some prescriptive commandments about who you are and who you are not allowed to cooperate
with. Exactly. What Demeter said. It is possible to vote and do other things as well. The only thing is, 9 times out of 10, when people are like, oh, well, all people are saying is just vote, but, like, you can do other things as well. Not saying you are saying that, but, like, 9 times out of 10, whenever people are decrying voting, which is what THOUGHTSLIME is doing here, what they are saying is the electoral system sucks, it doesn't work, so we should only organize. Which is very fucking stupid. is very fucking stupid. Yeah, that's 9 times out of 10 what this shit comes out to. It is the left cannot get our candidates voted into office, so we shouldn't engage in electoralism, so we should only organize. I think you should do both. I advocate for doing both, just like you do, Zoomy dear, because you are smart. Unlike Mildred, who, considering the spaces that Mildred hangs out with, I'm pretty sure I wouldn't be shocked if they fall in the category in the modern day, as of 2023, without their past positions. I wouldn't be shocked if in the modern day they fall into the category of fuck voting, just organize. Yeah, but if I'm wrong, correct me. Okay, I take full responsibility if I'm wrong, and that's just a spurious generalization.
An organizer, I'm a blowhard. I have a YouTube channel. I am the least entitled person to an opinion on anything. That shit's complicated and difficult. I'm in no position to tell you where the line is, But one thing, which sits comfortably on the do not tolerate side of the line, is anything less than full-throated active support.
But I thought Mildred was wearing like a beanie. I guess I wasn't paying attention.
For the well-being, equality, and autonomy of any political minority. Compromising on that is not only but one thing, which sits comfortably on the do not tolerate side of the line, is anything less than full-throated active support for the well-being, equality, and autonomy of any political minority.
Which the Democratic Party has been doing quite well in the United States. Like, not a lot of Democratic politicians have budged on even the trans stuff that I've seen. Like, a lot of them have been pretty fucking supportive. So, yeah.
Compromising on that is...
1 second. Y'all going back out? You're good.
Bro, you like Kevin Hart.
Honestly, I've done enough. Okay, chat. Wait, are you going back out or yeah?
Am I going back out?
Yeah. You are? Gotcha. Alright. Because, like, if you don't want to, it's chill, dude. Screw him, too. Alright, chat, it might be just a second before we continue. Oh, yeah. Just, Anyways, until we resume, everybody, how's everyone doing? A bit of a smaller one today, 24 people. But it is my first back after a while. Okay. I forgot how dumb Thought Slime was. Oh yeah, no, Thought Slime is an idiot. He says dumb things, people. Do not trust this person. At all.
Is not only, and I don't want to overstate my point here, but thing, which sits comfortably on the do not tolerate side of the line, is anything less than full-throated active support for the well-being, equality, and autonomy of any political minority. Compromising on that is not only, and I don't want to overstate my point here, but evil, but also foolish, tactically speaking. Because, like, if you're in a situation where it isn't tactically foolish, if you have a goal where it makes strategic sense to throw a political minority under the bus, then probably what's happening there is your goal sucks. You have an asshole goal for shitty asshole guys that an asshole might have. Concern trolling for the well-being of the left invariably presents itself as the moderate, sensible, popular position. Anything these people don't like is too unrealistic, too utopian. You'll never sell it to the normies. Frustratingly, this type of rhetoric is used even when the position of the people using it is less popular or less credible, or in some cases, flat-out trash brain garbage for idea babies to piss and shit their brain diapers with. These people don't argue that their position is more logical or morally superior, just that it's the best we can do right now. So it's better than nothing, right? Like, you know, if you can't get on board with this, then you're just a saboteur, letting the perfect be the enemy of the good. You're gatekeeping, you're wrecking. When this logic is weaponized against political...
Okay, the thing about this little argument that's going on here is that it seems like THOUGHTSLIME is arguing against the concept of incrementalism in general. Now, if they're only talking about it in regards to incrementalism when it comes to political minorities, that's one thing. I can get behind that. We should not do incrementalism. I'll even write that in the notes. Yeah, which THOUGHTSLIME might give a clarifier here on the incrementalism aspect, but if they don't, to me, at least the way they worded it, it sounds like they're arguing against incrementalism in general and only backing it up by saying, well, it's bad if you expand the logic to political minorities. Which is true, but there are things that you can be incremental on when it comes to your advocacy. Yeah? Like, you can be incremental on city reform, yeah? You don't need to abolish all cars overnight. You can be incremental with that. You can give or take, you can compromise on smaller things, yeah? You can't compromise on people's rights, I agree with, but compromise and incrementalism can be a genuine way to push society forward. It may not be necessarily what you want to do, but it can be good when people's lives aren't in danger. So if they're just speaking against incrementalism in general, or you know, making consolidations, making concessions in general, then I have an issue with it. But let's continue.
Political minorities, it usually goes something like this. Yeah, like, I agree, obviously, with what you're saying. In theory, in a perfect world, it's just right now, in this political climate, it's very much... It's too complicated, you know? It's so controversial what you're saying, even though, again, I totally get it. It's just most people won't. And like, also, can I say also, like, why are we spending so much energy on the needs of such a small group of people when it's going to turn off the majority citation needed? We got to think a big pic.
So far, this is actually a really good caricature of people who try to do incrementalism with people's rights. This is actually a really good caricature. This isn't even really a straw man. If you have talked to people who do believe in compromising rights, this is actually fairly accurate.
Picture here. And that makes a certain surface level sense to a particular type of asshole. But there are some problems with this argument. Firstly, and this should go without saying, it's cowardly. It's the type of argument you can only make if you're a complete spineless chicken shit, a moral infant. If you make this type of argument, I'm forced to assume you are, at this moment, concealing that you've been bitten by a zombie. Secondly, consider this little thought experiment. I got a little brain tickler for you here. Whose support do you think will be more valuable for you, people?
I never really understood what the line between incrementalism and not is. Like, his only option... Like, is not the only option when revolution... Wait, sorry. Like, is it not the only option when revolution is not the option? Incrementalism is the option when you're working with people who are willing to work with you. And that's the thing about it, yeah? Like, let's look at, I believe it's the state, it's either Michigan or Minnesota, it's one of the Midwestern states. Right now, in that states, Democrats hold a very slight majority, and they hold it to the point where they can push bills through and they aren't collaborating with the Republican Party. That's good, because they aren't relying on the Republican Party and incrementalism to push shit through. They're just doing what they need to do. Yeah, incrementalism should only happen when A, you aren't in power to push through what you need to push through exactly as quickly as you need it to be pushed through, when you don't have that power, and B, when the people you're collaborating with are people who actually agree with you. Or at least agree with you somewhat, but you have to compromise in the middle. Yeah? So, like, if you're super far left, but you're in a Democratic Party that has control of the state, but that state is a little iffy, but you have full control, but you have, like, some more rightward members of that party, sometimes you have to compromise within the party and engage in incrementalism there. Yeah? Don't collaborate with demons. Collaborate with people who are willing to collaborate with you. It's pretty simple from there. But yeah, no, incrementalism is politics. Collaborationism, unfortunately, not collaborationism, that's a bad term. Collaborationism, something completely different. What do you call it? Making concessions is what happens in politics. It's going to be bound to happen. It's just a question of whether or not you have to do it in the moment, and arguing against it in general, instead of, when only people's rights are on the line, which, when people's rights are on the line, don't give them up in favor of a concession. Those are non-negotiable, but sometimes you have to negotiate other things that do not involve people's rights, and if ThoughtSlime is arguing against that, then it is a bad argument.
People whose material well-being specifically depends on your success, or people who don't really give a shit either way. People are so disinterested that the slightest discomfort will stop them from engaging in the issue whatsoever. Thirdly, the whole premise rests on two assumptions, of which at least one is always total horseshit. That the rights of the political minority in question are some sort of highly unpopular third-rail position, and this is usually justified by, like, a conversation they claim they had with some sort of archetypical common man. They talked with their bus driver about gender self-ID, and they didn't get it. So, like, how can you expect the working class to understand such ideas? Because
that is a way that people do try to engage in incrementalism with people's rights. That is true.
Second assumption is, of course, that the ignorant swine who represent your base cannot have their inherently self-interested and bigoted minds changed. Of course,
that one is usually implied, but so far that's actually spot on.
The more sophisticated and intelligent political class
Thank you, Taylor.
Can understand such highfalutin ideas, like, for example, that it's bad to be racist. But the average person is a kind of soulless, thoughtless machine. They exclusively seek base pleasure and avoid discomfort. They're incapable of reason or empathy or any higher form of thought, really, and we're like unto gods to them. We must shepherd them carefully, lest our enlightened thinking move too fast, frightening and confusing their primitive, superstitious little minds. You see, you dumb utopian baby, if we fight for something so unpopular or out there, as the logic goes, it hurts the broader and more achievable goals of the left. The ones I support, not the ones you support, because we have to be willing to compromise. I don't want to alarm you, but the far right, they're on the verge of winning. They're one election away from taking the whole pot. Okay, they're gaining momentum every day, and the only way to stop them now, I hate to say it, I really do, is to do the things that they're asking for, is to specifically do the things that they're agitating for. That's the only way to stop them. They want us to do that because it would stop them and make them less powerful.
So, again, they're kind of speaking on an archetype right now. I haven't seen this one a little bit. I haven't seen this one too much. Generally, the kind of perspective that I see from people who are not necessarily far to the left, but are definitely more progressive, is that they're actually looking up for themselves right now. They really are not willing to give concessions to the GOP or the right now. Like, I've seen average, like, very milquetoast people calling the GOP openly fascist right now. Like, your average everyday, just kind of, shit, they're gonna say that I'm doing the thing where I'm like, oh, well, your average everyday person. But, like, if you look on spaces that are just like fucking. And of course, I don't have data on this. This is anecdotal, so take it with a grain of salt. But from what I've seen, a lot of people who are not far to the left, but are like centrist, and not centrist in a, oh, I'm a centrist way, but like people who are genuinely kind of in the middle when it comes to politics, really, really don't like the GOP right now. Openly call them fascist, openly call them authoritarian, openly call them a threat to democracy. Like, when I say we are not really in a place anymore where a bunch of people are like, oh, well, if we do this, they're gonna, like, stop doing what they're doing, we really aren't in that place anymore. Like, that divide has been set. A lot of people know they're gonna do it anyway. They've done it anyway. Every time we give them a concession, they just keep going further. So, screw them. I don't really think this applies, at least not in the US. I'm assuming THOUGHTSLIME is Canadian because the fucking subtitles are English Canada. For some reason, if y'all can see, it's English Canada. But, like, I don't know about necessarily what's going on in Canada right now. That's not how it's looking in the US, if I'm being honest.
And, you know, plus, like, if they do win, like, you know, I'm white, so if they want to do racist stuff, I would bet. These compromises, of course, are always in service of power, in service of the status quo, in service to the exact structures we are meant to be opposing by making these compromises. It never works in the other direction. Never is the more moderate left asked to adopt a more radical position based on its popularity, feasibility, or outright necessity. We're meant to dismiss allies who agree with our positions in favor of courting allies who do not. Because maybe, if we do everything they ask for, they'll get on our side. That's what it means to get someone on your side, by the way. When you do something differently, because that's what they wanted. It means you changed their mind. We are asked to make this bargain constantly, to ignore some hideous injustice because, they claim, to focus on it necessarily distracts from all others. So you end up in this shell game scenario where the one true meaningful injustice is always the one you're not putting every iota of your effort into. And in order to fix it, you just got to ignore every other problem in the world. Those are all distractions. And this isn't a new technique. Throughout history, wherever there have been people fighting for any sort of social justice, equality, freedom from oppression, no matter how just their cause, you can find examples of that movement hypocritically excluding others in betrayal of their own principles.
True. So far, I've only had like a handful of objections to what they've said in this video. Like a lot of this is actually pretty salient.
Whether it's white women within the suffragette movement refusing to stand in solidarity with women of color, to modern-day quote-unquote anti-imperialists who deride and ridicule the land back movement without bothering to do the barest iota of research, just
She's talking about Vaush. She's talking about Vaush. This
cracklist who
the modern day quote-unquote anti-imperialists who deride and ridicule the land back movement. It's talking about Vaush there. Without explicitly mentioning. Look, going back to the whole land back thing, that whole argument that happened almost 2 years ago now, Professor Flowers is not a land back representative. Professor Flowers doesn't understand land back as a concept. And Vaush is for land back. He spoke with land back activists after that whole situation just to make sure he was on the right track and on the right page. I thought this was going to be a good video, but then of course they had to drop this line. Also, all of these frames we're stopping on are so good. So much thumbnail potential. A land back activist asked to come on Vaush's stream and rightfully set the record straight? Yeah. Because Professor Flowers got it wrong. And then you have a bunch of these people sitting here just saying stupid stuff because they don't understand it themselves and they just want to back up someone who didn't understand it themselves because they want to shit on one fucking person. Because of course it always comes back to stupid drama that happened 2 years ago. This is so stupid. They're doing so well, too. Doing so well.
Deride and ridicule the land back movement without bothering to do the barest iota of research. Just crack open Wikipedia and just really even look at what the definition of the term is. Really understand the thing that they're criticizing. Just do the bare minimum. Just really even look into any of it. And this is the problem.
Land Back, or hashtag Land Back, is a decentralized campaign by Native Americans in the United States and Indigenous people in Canada and allies alike seek to reestablish Indigenous sovereignty with political and economic control of their ancestral lands. Activists have also used a Land Back framework in Mexico, and scholars have applied it in New Zealand and Fiji. Land Back is part of a broader Indigenous struggle for decolonization. Okay, so we have origins, descriptions. Okay.
Yeah, question.
Yeah, you're good. Okay. Land Back I can't speak. Okay. Land Back advocates for Indigenous rights, preserves languages and traditions, and works towards food sovereignty, decent housing, and a clean environment. Note, these are none of the things that Vaush stands against. So we have origins, philosophy. This matters. The NDN Collective being an Indigenous-led advocacy organization based in Rapid City, South Dakota. Describes the Land Back campaign as a meta-narrative that ties together many different Indigenous organizations similar to the BLM campaign. They say that the campaign enables decentralized Indigenous leadership and addresses structural racism faced by Indigenous people that is rooted in the theft of their land. Note, that is nothing that debate was about. Land Back does not mean that non-Indigenous people should be made to leave unceded and... I'm sorry. Land Back does not mean that non-Indigenous people should be made to leave unceded Indigenous lands. You know what Vaush spent that entire time doing? Making sure that Professor Flowers acknowledged this fact. But all that she said in this debate was that it wasn't up to anyone else what happened. I cracked open Wikipedia, I found the thing that he knew, and was trying to make sure that she knew. I did it. Moving on.
Problem that intersectional analysis was intended to help us study, to create the understanding that various forms of oppression intersect, creating unique material conditions and forms of oppression for those people who unfortunately find themselves within that intersection, beyond merely simply the combined effects of like two discrete types of oppression. A new symbiotic oppression is made. What people
That was a funny visual.
don't talk about as much is how these forms of oppression mutually reinforce one another. Easy example you've heard a million times, right? Racism enforces capitalism. Prejudice against racialized people is projected onto the poor and lower class, and vice versa. It's an easy way for bourgeois interests to divide workers and create scapegoats for their own excesses. And also, just directly take a bunch of people's shit. Just take it and have it and own it. Then if anybody gets mad at them, they can go, but no, you're not poor because of me, because I have all the money. You're poor because Jews have bad money DNA, probably is what it is. And also, one time at the supermarket, I saw a black woman buy a lobster with a food stamp, so probably that's why you're poor. Obviously, racism would still be bad, whether or not it intersected with capitalism. And capitalism would likewise be bad in any sort of hypothetical alternate reality scenario where it developed without racism. Both of these things would be problems that required solving without the other. But in a world where both exist, like this one, Earth, You have to fight both. Otherwise, the struggle against either is incomplete. You're not the money, you're poor, because Jews have bad money DNA, probably is what it is. And also, one time at the supermarket, I saw a black woman buy a lobster with a food stamp, so probably that's why you're poor. Obviously, racism would still be bad, whether or not it intersected with capitalism, and capitalism would likewise be bad in any sort of hypothetical alternate reality scenario where it developed without racism. Both of these things would be problems that required solving without the other, but in a world where both exist, like this one, Earth, you have to fight both. Otherwise, the struggle against either is incomplete. Here's another example for you. Transmisogyny.
Okay. Yeah, if you only fight against one, the struggle to fight against the other will be incomplete, but it will be significantly easier. Yeah, abolishing all bad systems at once, while it would be a good thing, isn't feasible. Sometimes you have to take down things one by one. It's what happens. It's kind of what naturally happens over history. I can't really do anything about it, really.
Reinforces misogyny classic. The ways that trans women's bodies and behaviors are scrutinized and demonized are then ported from the trans engine to the cis engine, which actually is pretty easy because that's the engine it was developed for, and used to control the bodies and behaviors of cis women. Cis women become the collateral damage in attempts to stop trans women from existing and need to conform to cis heteronormative standards to demonstrate their womanhoodliness. Cut your hair too short or have too many muscles and you might not be allowed to piss anymore or run in a race. Because what if you're a secret trans in disguise? Better take your rights away, just in case. Simultaneously, trans women are themselves the collateral damage in patriarchal attempts to control cis women, to firmly establish the boundaries of the feminine and police the bodies and identities of all kinds of different women. Some tall, some short, some of them have swords. All women. In both of these examples, you cannot fight one problem without fighting the other. If you try, you're just putting it in another place for it to get stronger later and come back and get you. You're not dismantling an oppressive structure. You're just asking for permission to be let into the oppressing group.
Okay, let me put it like this. Incremental destruction of power structures is not letting more people into the group of the oppressor. It's making the group of the oppressor less tight. And by making it less tight, less people are being oppressed. Now, let's put it like this. The Incredibles. Stupid comparison, I know. Very stupid comparison. But it's the when everybody's super, no one is? Yeah, no. When everyone is in the group of the oppressor, no one is. That's the goal. Less people being oppressed, the better. That's what we want. That's what we're pushing for. It happens group by group for some reason. That's just kind of the march of human society. Over time, less groups become oppressed. It's kind of how it happens. And yeah, that does mean that after a group stops being oppressed, they join the oppressive class in some way. Kind of. But that also means that the next group to join them is not oppressed, and then the group after is not oppressed, and so on and so forth, until the end of time. It is going to be an infinite march to making sure that everybody is in the top group, because when everybody is in the top group, when everybody is in the group that holds control, no one is being controlled. That's how it works. And anyone who believes in a leftist framework of analysis should acknowledge this. Yeah? What do you do after a fucking revolution? Yeah? You establish a dictatorship of the proletariat. Thank you. You establish a dictatorship of the proletariat, as people say, where workers control everything. Does that mean that now there's some magically oppressed group? No. Because everyone is in control now. No one is being oppressed. Because everyone is in control. It's the same logic here. This is a stupid point.
And I can't exactly judge anyone for that. I am the beneficiary of all oppression in the world. But I would like to extend a word of caution, if I may. If you do manage to get put into the in-group, that's not going to last forever. Helping the people who are oppressing you now cook up a new way to oppress someone else, you can imagine how that plan might backfire, right? Ironically, the right seems to understand this better than the left sometimes, but like in the backwards brain way that they don't really understand anything. They'll label any attempt to advocate for marginalized people as communist, as an evil Marxist plot. Like, there's a famous photo of a shithead in Little Rock, Arkansas, protesting school integration in 1959, holding up a sign that reads, "Race mixing is communism." While I doubt that this man had a robust knowledge of communist theory or a rich understanding of the historical and material reality of white supremacy, and I do disagree with the premise that race mixing is communism, he's not wrong to make the connection, right? What his pea brain has figured out is, if you're going to advocate for some people to be equal, it's a slippery slope towards all people becoming equal. It's just that, that would be good. And he thinks it's bad because he's a shithead. This racist dipshit understood that any victory for Black Americans, anything which brings them closer towards freedom and equality, weakens the apparatus used to also deny freedom and equality to the working class. Because many working class people are themselves Black, but also because the methods and justifications used to subdue both groups share a great deal of ideological common ground. Again, he just thought that was cool. Like, he thought it's cool that some people are oppressed on account of the shitheadedness. People like Anna will argue that identitarian concerns distract from economic issues.
I'm done with the identitarian garbage. I'm done with it. It is a giant distraction.
This right here is a good point.
The people who are supposed to be fighting for a better economic system, better economic conditions, better working conditions, all of that stuff pushed aside. Let's focus on the identitarian stuff.
That they divide the working class.
And the identitarian stuff by nature divides us and leads to more fights, more conflict, even among us. But that's the point.
But okay, let's think that through for a second. Let's work that out in our brains. If you are excluded from the full and equal participation in the world on the basis of identity, say race or gender, sexuality, disability, left-handedness, whether or not you like Naruto, whatever, do you see how that quickly becomes an economic issue? Like, if people of one identity are allowed to be in control of everything and use that control to subjugate another, how that might quickly become an economic problem for the people not in control. Like, for example, they would have worse job prospects and at those jobs have worse working conditions, harder time building cash liquidity or owning a home or not being in prison or enslaved or murdered. And even if they were murdered, would they even look for their bodies? Like, if you knew where their bodies were, would the government even go there to look for them? Like, if someone could say, hey, we have reasonable suspicion that there's some bodies, say, in a landfill would be one place they might be, then would the government even go?
This has gone on a little too long. This is a little weird.
Look, do you see how all of these things could be affected by whether or not you are considered a subhuman, inferior, second-class citizen? How that might actually have a pretty big financial impact on you. They do kind of acknowledge this by talking about how we have to work towards making sure that everybody has equal rights and equal opportunities and equal access to housing. And it's just like the cultural stuff that they think is pointless, right?
We shot a show, I don't know if you guys are ever gonna see it, we shot a pilot just this weekend with a mixed Republican and Democratic family, okay? I asked them about trans rights, should they have the same rights, same exact rights in housing, employment, etc. Every one of them, including hardcore Trump people, were like, yes, they should have the same exact.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah. Yeah, that's the position.
Yeah, exactly.
When I asked about this topic, every one of them, except one, 6 out of 7, were like, no, not competing in sports.
Where do you think the denial of those economic rights comes from in the first place? Like, what do you think caused people to want to do that? Do you think maybe that, like, if you spend a lot of time demonizing a group of people and portraying them as inherently shitty, predatory monster goblins, that eventually that might lead you to want to take away some of those equal rights? And how maybe if you spend your time complaining that anyone attempting to change those cultural narratives is a hysterical baby person, you might be contributing to that?
But idiot activists, yes, I just called you an idiot. Activists go in there and go, no, I'm gonna fall right into that trap. And I'm gonna fight on the only losing ground we have.
This is true.
So we can elect more Republicans.
This
so they
context
can
bit is
pass
true.
more anti-LGBT
Hello,
laws.
Tipster.
The
Welcome
people
to
who
stream.
argue that it is divisive to be united with one another come in two general varieties. Either they're right-wing grifters who want to third position themselves into leftist spaces to spread their dipshit ideas around, or they're complete rubes, useful dolts, easy marks for the aforementioned grifters. And it is pretty useless to speculate which one any given person is, because as you can imagine, there's a lot of overlap in that Venn diagram, but I do have a rubric I like to use in these situations. A little test I use to determine if people are arguing in bad faith. When their position is criticized, do they A, defend their position, explaining their logic, or ignore the criticism, or B, whine about how it's unfair that people are disagreeing with them at all and they kick up a big stink about it, people saying they're wrong is actually...
It is good that they are making a distinction between these two responses. I like this fact.
Them being silenced and making them be silent about disagreeing with you is what free speech means. But them disagreeing with you obviously shows that they don't tolerate disagreement. So they shouldn't be allowed to say that they don't agree, because that's...
Keep in mind, Anarchist Therian is an idiot. So yeah.
not free speech. And it is a very handy rhetorical strategy because it means you never have to defend your positions. When challenged, you can retreat to a grandstanding speech about the importance of open debate and civil dialogue. You can tut-tut and finger wag about how rude everyone else is, and then claim that they're the ones scolding you? Like, it feels to me like the worst time to accuse someone of scolding you would be right after you gave them an etiquette lesson and lectured them about how to disagree civilly. It seems like a scoldy thing to do. To whine and cry and kick and stamp your feet about everybody won't let you disagree. Nobody these days will tolerate disagreements. But like, nah, you can disagree. By all means, believe whatever you want to believe. It's just that the thing you believe means you're a big doo-doo dum-dum. That's my belief. It's an open dialogue. Which brings me back to the left. I ask you now, of what use is being part of the left?
This can make or break the video right here.
My understanding was that the left represented a loose coalition of people whose ideas and values I agreed with, people who wanted and fought for the same things I want. If, in order to succeed, that group must allow people whose ideas and values are in direct contrast to the goals we want to pursue, the question must be asked, of what use is this thing? Why protect it? A lot of people would say it's because to stop the far right, it's the only way to do it is we got to let everybody in so we can stop the far right. But I think a more effective strategy for fighting the far right, in my opinion, would be not letting them on your side. Like we got to drift to the right in order to protect ourselves.
Well, yeah, and that's why a lot of people are very, very, very serious about defining who and who's not on the political left. Yeah, because if you look at people and you can say, hey, that person isn't a leftist, that person isn't on the political left, you can stop them from trying to grift their way into your spaces. It's kind of the whole reason why this happens.
From the right, you know? Sometimes you say something and you think, oh man, am I strawmanning the position of the people that I'm complaining about? And then they just fucking tweet it, you know? Then they just fucking tweet it. They just X it out to all of their followers on X. I just think that if we're trying to fight the far right, it would be helpful to not form consensus with them on account of they want to kill a bunch of people and take away a bunch of human rights. And that really isn't the type of thing I want to compromise about. Like, there's really nothing that could make that compromise worth it for me, And so, like, if that divides the left, I can live with that. Divide it up, baby. Cut that baby down the middle. I don't care who the left's true mother is. The type of thing I want to compromise about. Like, there's really nothing that could make that compromise worth it for me, And so, like, if that divides the left, I can live with that. Divide it up, baby. Cut that baby down the middle. I don't care who the left's true mother is. I don't care. Fucking balkanize the left. Who gives a shit? This isn't team sports. I don't care about my team winning. What I care about is the goals that I wish to pursue. And if we must abandon those goals in order for the left to win, then the left is a dead project, standing in the way of the things that I want. So, in conclusion, be wary of anyone who tells you that by expressing your opinions, you have silenced theirs. That by advocating for solidarity, you are sowing division. That by disagreeing with them, you have somehow not allowed for the possibility of disagreement. That they know better than you the rate of progress that other people are willing to accept. That they represent normal people, the silent majority, the default human opinion, while you are aberrant and strange. Your ideas are off-putting and impossible to communicate. Everyone else, the normal people out there, like me, are too stupid to understand those ideas. I know, because I go out and I talk to people sometimes. And you're stupid if you think that people will understand your smart ideas. Basically, anybody who tells you that the appropriate way to make progress is indistinguishable from the lazy, thoughtless positions of the reactionaries they claim to be the only ones positioned to defeat. Thank you for watching my video.
Okay.
And
that was shockingly good. Didn't expect it from our kind friend here, who usually posts very stupid shit. But yeah. But I do have some critiques. I do not think that what they're doing here in their advocacy against incrementalism was necessarily against it as a concept in general. I thought that at first, but when they explained it a bit, and also the tie between economic oppression and social oppression, I got it. I got the position, I understand it, I'm fine with it. I could probably levy some critiques on it if I sleep on it, but generally, that was pretty good. And then outside of that, we only had the land back idiot bit. Rip the eyeball zone is... Yeah, no, it's not there. Not there. Not at the end. The land back idiot shit in the middle was the worst part of it. Generally, though, the things that THOUGHTSLIME said here were actually pretty fucking good critiques. I will say that. I will give them that. That was not bad. At all. The eyeball zone helped me find other bread tubers. Yeah, it was a good segment, but stop doing it. Yeah, no. Video was better than I expected. Once again, it was a viewer suggestion by Naomi Chance. Naomi did it in the Discord server. You can join the Discord server down below. You can also follow me on Twitter, link in the description down below as well, alongside the Discord server. If you like this video, make sure to like it so that it shows up on more people's YouTube feed so that they may see it. Also, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell icon so that you know whenever I upload, I will be going live. Hopefully a lot more now that the internet is not horrible. I love you all, and I'll see you all in the next video. Peace. Gotta hit the stop recording button.